I wish I could be like those amazing artists I look up to. Well, look no further. Hi, I'm Smiley. After 5 years of digital painting, I spent a lot of time exploring how different elements like style, details, and color play a role in an artwork. But today, I want to talk specifically about lighting and how it pulls everything in a piece together. Today, I'll be talking through how color makes your lighting feel more harmonized in your artwork. Smiley, isn't that just color theory? Wait, don't click off the video yet. I know the science behind color theory could feel like homework, but don't worry, I am not gonna pull up a 40-page lecture. We're going to be focusing on how lighting and colors work together to give your art piece an actual life instead of slapping a glow layer on it and calling it a day. Our goal is to make our lighting feel more interesting and more atmospheric. And if you haven't watched the beginner lighting guide yet, I highly recommend starting there first, because this is going to build directly on top of those basics. So we're going to have a breeze past of the fundamentals and jump into the more complex concepts. Multiple light sources. Like we cover in lighting with the spear in the beginner video, now we're going to build on that by adding layers like rim light and ambient light. We're going to also look how colors work with lighting to shape the mood and atmosphere in your artwork. Colors in lighting. To start, light is not just white. If it was, art would be way easier. Light isn't just a brightness slider, it has its own color and temperature into it. Warm light, cool light, and all that fun stuff. And even when the light hits on the object, it doesn't just make it brighter, it also changes the color too. So instead of aimlessly shading to make things darker, you need to consider what color is this lighting actually casting onto the subject. Now here's the part that most people mess up. Saturation and highlights and shadows. Highlights aren't just always lighter, and shadows aren't just always darker. To show you exactly what I mean how saturation levels affects the final look, I put it into this guide so you can see different combos work. Saturated highlights with desaturated shadows means high contrast and clear. Desaturated highlights and saturated shadows means bold and dramatic. Saturated everything, very colorful, high vibrant. Desaturated everything means muted and moody. This shows how adjusting saturation alone can completely change the mood and the impact of your piece. Creating mood. Lighting is one of the most powerful tools of the storytelling, such as darker lighting is more serious, dramatic, or tense. Brighter lighting, cheerful, upbeat, or energetic. High contrast is dramatic, intense, and theatrical. Low contrast is calm, subtle, and dreamlike. You can change the entire feeling of the artwork by adjusting the saturation, direction / the angle of lighting, contrast, and color temperature. This is because our brain is assorted with specific lighting set up with the real-life environment. For example, low contrast and cool tones automatically feels quiet, foggy morning, and bright lighting, high contrast feels more sunny afternoon. Colors in example, sunset are like warm highlights versus cool shadows. Night is more limited shadows and color shifts. Artificial light is emissive and high saturated light. Here's an example of each piece that I created, and here's the analysis on each of them. Neon and vibrant color palette makes it more cyber and more of a pop art. Low contrast and muted color palettes makes it feel more calm and ethereal. Pastel and warm color palettes makes it feel more delicate and retro, while dusky and twilight color palettes makes it feel more cozy and soulful. With this understanding, you set a better mood for your audience, making your work feel more meaningful. Color harmony / combos. I'll be taking a single base drawing and applying different lighting setup to show how shifting the colors can completely transform the mood, depth, and overall impact of the artwork. Coloring isn't just a separate step from lighting. You aren't just picking the palette. You're deciding how the environment and the subject in your piece interacts. Now this leads to the color theory and color combos. There's a variety of different color harmonies, but we're gonna go through 3 methods. Warm light plus cool shadows, which is like the foundation of lighting. This is more commonly used when lighting principle in artworks. It utilizes complementary harmony. Warm lighting includes yellows, orange, and reds, while cool shadows includes blues and purples. By balancing these, you get this natural contrast because warm and cool colors sit opposite from each other on the color wheel. Why it works is because the warm color feels closer and brighter, cool colors feels deeper and further away. The concept just creates a depth and visual clarity. For example, if a character is sitting by a sunlight, which is like warm orange light, will naturally feel cooler shadows on the opposite sides. Even indoors, if your lighting is warm, shadows tend to shift a cooler tone due to the ambient light. Next up is analogous lighting, more softer moods. Analogous colors are colors that just sit right next to each other on the color wheel. This creates a smooth color transition, low contrast between the hues, and a soft and cohesive look. Because there isn't much of a contrast, this color palette feels more calm or peaceful. Now why it works. Colors are similar, so they mix nicely together. There isn't a strong contrast, so nothing screams too loud or clashing. And everything looks like it belongs together in one scene. For example, if the character's in the blues, it can feel low energy, cold, or distant, while a character in a green tone environment can feel more natural and relaxing. This often is used when your lighting wants to unify in one scene instead of creating a whole focal point. And next up is complementary color, strong contrast. Complementary colors are opposite on the color wheel, like blue and orange, and purple and yellow. When we place together, this creates a strong visual contrast. Why it works is the colors are each other appear more saturated, creates sharper visual separation, and it draws attention to specific areas. For example, if your background is warm, those cool shadows will provide contrast needed to separate your character from the environment. Blending modes. To make those color harmonies work together on the canvas, you'll have to use blending modes. Blending modes are tools that are controlled how your colors interact with the layer underneath. Instead of manually picking every single tone, you can use these quick to control the lighting and the shadows. Multiply layer, often used for shadows. Multiply layer darkens everything underneath while preserving the original color. A tip is to slightly use a color tint instead of pure black. Shading with a deep blue or purple often keeps your colors from looking too muddy. Linear burn adds warmth and depth. Linear burn is similar to multiply blending mode, except it darkens and saturates simultaneously to help with building depth without losing the color harmony. Add/glow brightens the areas or values. This mode intensifies their brightness and creates stronger highlights. It's the best mode for making your warm accent color feel like they're emitting lighting. A tip to keep this in mind, if overusing this blending mode can blow out your highlights and really hide the work underneath. So be careful. Overlayer redefines the contrast. Overlayer combines with multiplier and screen effect. Depending on the base color, it makes your lighter area pop and darker areas deeper, while making the colors look more vibrant. Overall, it's a good final polishing layer. Soft light, subtle tones. Soft light is a great version of an overlayer. It adds slight contrast and adjusts colors without being too strong, keeping it natural balanced look. It's a very controlled adjustment, and it's great if you want a subtle look without looking too overpowering over the artwork. Now that we understand how colors affects the lighting, let's look into two key concepts. Rim lighting is the lighting that outlines the edges of your subject. But smartly, why does it even matter? Well, rim lighting helps your characters add depth, helping the shapes appear more clear and more defined. Example, light from the left, rim light shows the right edges. Here's a tutorial. Add a new layer above and set to clipping mask. Set to multiply layer, multiply darkens the everything underneath. Then add a new layer above and set to clipping mask. And set the blending mode to add or glow for a stronger lighting effect. Pick a lighter color that matches your light source. Consider using warmer tones to contrast with the cool shadows, or an analogous color to harmonize with your character's base. Then, place the rim light on the edge opposite from your main light. Focus on the outer edges of your character. 5. Keep it thin and controlled. Not too thick or it will look unnatural. Rim lighting can be sharp or soft depending on the light, indicating a small or intense light that makes it sharper, while a larger light source can create a softer edge. Ambient light. Ambient light is the general indirect light in your environment that fills the shadows so they don't look completely flat or black. By lifting the darker values, it can soften the shadow and keeping your lighting looking from too harsh or heavy contrast. There's no specific directions as it acts like the base lighting of your scene. Here's a quick tutorial. First, add a new layer above and set it to clipping mask. Then, use a soft brush with a low opacity. Then, pick a subtle color from your environment or light source. Step 4, gently place it into the shadows area to soften them. Step 5, keep it simple. This isn't a direct lighting as it's just filling in the spaces. And lastly, this creates a gradual fade that helps your object feels more connected to the environment. But Smiley, isn't that just reflective lighting? Well, not exactly. Ambient light is overall soft and directionless, while reflective lighting is from a specific surface and adds subtle, directional lighting inside the shadow areas, often with a visible color tint. Common intermediate mistakes. Too many colors, often messy. Using too many different hues without control can make your art feel chaotic, as too many colors can make it feel harder for the viewer to know where they're looking at. A quick fix is to limit your color palette, stick to consistent lighting and shadow scheme, using harmony rules like analogous or complementary, but a good thing to keep in mind is sometimes less is more. Overusing glow layer. Glow is powerful, but too much can make everything look flat and washed out. A quick fix is using a glow only for important areas, keeping it most at the lighting ground in the normal shading, treating your glow as an accent but not the main light. No clear main light. If you don't define a main light source, your lighting will feel confused, since your highlight and shadows won't follow a clear direction. A quick fix is to decide your light direction early, sticking with it throughout the whole entire piece by using the arrow or concept guide for where your light should be coming from. Let all the shadows and highlight follow that logic too. Ignoring values. This could go with too bright or too dark everywhere. Remember to check your tonal value by checking your artwork in grayscale first. Value refers to light or dark the color is. If your values are too similar, the character will lose its depth and look flat. A great fix to work around this is by checking your artwork in grayscale to make sure your lighting and contrast is actually readable. To do this, add a new layer above, fill the entire layer with white, can be done by using the bucket tool to make it easier, then set the layer blending mode to color. From there, it's easier to fix your lighting and make everything look clearer. Intermediate tips. Color shift shadows. Instead of using a darker version of your base color to shade, try shifting the hue instead of it. Example, warm light, cool shadows, or cool light and warm shadows. Ultimately, this is all about personal preference. But this prevents your color from feeling too muddy or flat, as there's no actual correct color to pick. So feel free to experiment in different colors combination to find your aesthetic or style that works best for you. Using gradients for atmospheres. Gradients helps with smooth transition in lighting. It adds depth, creates mood, and prevents flat shading. Example, a subtle gradient in the background can make your foreground stand out more. It adds depth and contrast behind your subject. Zooming out often. When you zoom in too much, you lose the sight of the overall picture, risking an over-rendered section of your drawing. Instead of getting stuck into small details, focus on the bigger shapes first to establish a cohesive and understandable composition. As zooming out helps you maintain the overall composition, balance lighting, and also identifies the mistakes early. Next is study real-life photos. Real life is the best teacher. It actually shows how the light wraps around the object, how the shadows behave, and how the color shifts in different lighting. With this, you can apply the knowledge that you gain from the real world around to your own artwork. Keeping a clear focal point. Your artwork should guide the viewer's eyes. You can do this by increasing contrast in one area, adding more details in one spot, or using brighter lighting there. In most cases, the focal point is the face or the main subject. Lighting isn't just colors. It's the control over light, contrast, and mood. Once you understand how lighting works, you can start creating your own decisions instead of guessing. thanking your future self. With practice, your lighting could become more clear, dynamic, and more expressive over time. For more detailed tutorials, check out appleforartists.org. I hope you found this video helpful or even enjoyed it. And until next time, goobers, bye-bye!